We all know that when we're calorie deficit, we lose weight, right?
With less training and no cardio, I just do weight training, I've leaned up. Everything in terms of bulking or leaning is on your plate.
What are your thoughts on measuring or not measuring? Are you with intuitive eating? Are you against intuitive eating?
I'm done fighting. I was done giving up and failing every time and being embarrassed that I failed. I was done with that. I hated that feeling. All I wanted was to know how to eat correctly if I choose to lose fat.
And we've seen online pictures of women who compete with weightlifting who look big, who look bulky.
Their goal is to be the strongest they can possibly be, to lift the heaviest possible weight. If you're worried about aging, then you should be worrying about your muscle composition. And that's what's important, to do the goal that you want to do in a smart, intelligent, logical way, which is more comfortable than suffering.
For today's episode, I am very excited about my guest, Tracy Harmoush. You probably know her for posting crazy workouts that she does with lifting. She can lift heavier than what can guys bench press, probably, which is amazing. So I'm really honored, I'm really excited to have Tracy today because I want to talk more about women's health because there's so much noise out there. I always felt lost when it comes to weight loss, or you always like to call it fat burning. So I've been following you for I don't know how many years, but I've noticed that lately you started sharing your plate, how your plate looks like, and you started sharing that you're preparing your new nutrition program, which I'm excited about. Something you don't know is that I started duplicating your plates at home, and I actually lost weight.
Amazing. I'm so glad to hear that.
So that's the first testimonial before even the nutrition program is out. So I'm really excited. I look forward to it. I anticipate to start that journey with you. But can you tell us more about what to expect in this nutrition program?
Yes, of course. So first of all, I want to say thank you for having me here. It's an absolute pleasure to have this conversation with you, and I'm sure we're going to dive deep into very interesting topics. So if we're going to start with the nutrition stuff, you're right. I never used to talk about food prominently before. My tone of voice was always workouts because that's what I understood very well. When you do something day in, day out, you know, they say 10,000 hours, you become an expert at something. And I've been training for God knows how long, and I have 3 certifications, level 1, level 2 in calisthenics and in mobility. So it was easy for me to talk about training because it's what I understood fully. But just like a lot of women and men, there's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to food. And because I couldn't understand what's working for my body myself, I didn't think I was eligible to share information about nutrition when people would ask me. So sometimes I'd ignore the questions. I would maybe give a very superficial answer of what I thought was a good plate, right? But I can't even tell you how many courses, how much money I spent on different courses with different people. Some things did stick, some things stuck, and then all of a sudden it clicked. And I said, look, I'm going to try this plan that I want to find something that the most important thing for me was finding something that allows me to be in control of food. I felt for the longest time like I didn't have control over food. I would give up in a second if I see a cheesecake in front of me. I would give up in a second if I see, something sweet. And it was annoying because I felt I was very disciplined in many things in my life, but the one thing I had no control over was my food. And I'm not for cutting out food groups altogether for the rest of your life. I mean, we're here to enjoy life as well, right? But I know that it's quite important to have full control over everything in your life. And a big one is food, because so many people out there, including myself, we emotionally eat out of stress. If I'm anxious, if I'm working on a proposal, I don't know where I get up, go to the kitchen, I open my closet. Why? I'm not even hungry, but because I'm anxious and I'm nervous, I just want to munch on something. It's not the right thing to do. And I had to read up a lot on why we do this and what's the point of not having control over these things. And I realized a big thing was we were counting on willpower in our food in order for us to go on a diet or to lose weight. And willpower is not enough. There's only so many days you could really count on willpower before you're like, I've exhausted my willpower completely, I'm done. And most of us, after 3 weeks, after 1 month, we can be good. Yeah. But then after a month, we probably put on all the weight that we lost because we were only counting on willpower to lose weight. And what I discovered with this new nutrition program is that there are actual food groups that you should eat. I'm not going to say I understand all programs. I know the fat loss program now. That's the thing I nailed and I understood fully. There are food groups that you should eat in abundance and some food groups that you should eliminate for you to lose fat. The idea of weight loss has been thrown left, right, and center a lot. People just want to lose weight. So I want to lose weight. Let me do it as quick as possible. Summer's coming up. Let me take injections of Ozempic or whatever, God knows what else is out there. Let me starve myself. Let me do a 3-day juice cleanse. It's the worst thing you can do for your body because all you're doing is putting your body in survival mode. I don't recognize what's happening here. I'm starving. So let me hold on to all the fat that I have for the past 10 years. There's no way I'm going to let go of fat because fat is actually your body's most precious commodity. If you're not introducing fat, if you're not introducing protein, if you're not introducing the things that your body needs and asks for, there is no way in hell your body's going to get rid of old fat, which is why most people that are starving themselves on Ozempic and God knows what, maybe they've switched off the hormone that makes them crave or makes them hungry for a while, but it doesn't change the fact that biologically your body's still storing that fat. It's probably going to get rid of your muscle, eat away at your muscle. And if you do check, and I would urge anybody who's doing Ozempic to go and check your body composition before and after you're on Ozempic and just watch how it's eating away at your muscle. It means nothing if you're losing weight and you're just becoming frail and losing your muscle and losing your posture and you're just frail and skinny. That means nothing. What's much more healthy is to lose the body fat that you want to lose, the stubborn body fat, while keeping your muscle there. And that cannot be attained by starving yourself. It is only attained by eating the right foods. And that's my biggest discovery with nutrition, and which is why now I'm comfortable to share it, because I understood it and I've done it for myself. I lost 6 kilos on it. As thin as I've always been, I have been a bit bulky, I would say, because I wasn't eating the right stuff and I train heavy. And when I discovered that, wait, hold on, this is the food groups I'm going to eat, and they were scary at first. Add butter to your food, have big pieces of steak. And I'm like, no, I should have a salad if I want to lose weight. You just have to be comfortable to try. I'm not eating processed food. I'm not eating sugar. It was just eating extra meat, butter, whole food. So I knew I wasn't walking into something crazy and unhealthy. It was just, let me test it. And I'm all for people trying different things. Try veganism, try carnivore diet, try whatever works, but then something's going to make sense and it's going to click. And for me, this one clicked.
I agree with you, by the way. I was vegan for 7 years. And it didn't feel great. Cognitively, it didn't feel great. I always had sciatica pain in my leg because I was probably deficient with B12 because I wasn't eating meat.
I tried veganism as well, and it didn't sit well with me. I was bloated all the time.
Yeah.
I was uncomfortable in my body and my gut all the time. I just felt like a hard stomach constantly. I wanted to try it to see if maybe that works, because we're fed all this information, right? I think at the end of the day, I think I have the answer, but I'm not going to impose my answer on anybody. It's for each person to try, and I do believe that everybody kind of has the same body type as a human being, but it fluctuates from person to person. So maybe some people cannot process meat as well as me, so they can have it twice a week. I can have meat every single day and I feel I thrive on it. Almost everybody tells me your face is glowing, your hair is thickened, my nails are harder, and I know it's because I've changed the way I've been eating. My nails were breaking. I could even get my nails barely this long before. So I know that it has worked tremendously, and the people around me that I've been just sharing it with because I'm so happy, they're all thriving on it, and it's just one of those things that I'm like, I want to share with people because I wish someone told me,
Yeah.
I wish I'd have to suffer through this for God knows how long. But then again, I'm not a nutritionist, so it's not like I'm giving you medical advice. I'm giving you advice from a girl who has been trying God knows how long to understand what it takes to lose fat properly in a healthy manner without starving yourself, without doing crazy things. And it has worked for me. That's all I can say. And if anyone wants to understand a little bit more, you know where to find me.
I feel also sometimes we jump into conclusions that I thought that animal products were not good for me. I thought I was allergic to them. Like I had, I lost the word in English. I'm gonna remember it in a bit. But
in Arabic, sure.
It's similar to allergy, but it has...
yeah, I get what you mean, like I lost the word.
They label it. There is a label for it.
Yeah, it's like what they say about milk and stuff.
Yes,
I'm going to find the word intolerant.
Yes, intolerant.
Yeah.
So I thought I had intolerance to like animal products, but I was wrong. The thing is, I was buying like bad quality, kind of like animal products.
That's everything, and I'm so glad you talked about that, because it is 100% true that if you're not getting the quality, then you're going to get your gut inflamed. So if you're saying that I'm off of grains, let's say I'm not eating grains right now because grains are bad for my gut, but all you're doing is buying grain-fed beef. How does that beef grow up? Everything that you're eating from that beef this composition is from grains, because that's all it ate. Same thing with chicken. If you're eating your chicken that's injected with hormones and it's not vegetable fed, then you're by transitivity, by the byproduct of what you're eating is actually grains. You're eating the meat, but its constitution is grains. So you really have to be careful and understand, what meat am I buying? Peanut butter, let's say. I mean, peanut butter doesn't digest well for everybody. For the longest time, I thought that I couldn't eat peanut. Peanut is so bad for my gut, I get so inflamed. But then I realized I was getting palm oil infused peanut butter. It's the palm oil that was bothering me more than the peanut itself. I could have peanut in moderation, and it's not going to inflame my gut. When I started searching around and finding like raw peanut, that's it, crushed peanut, that's my peanut butter. I don't add sugar, I don't add anything to it. If you're not mindful of what you're buying, that's the worst thing, because you actually think you're eating well. So if I'm ordering kebabs, it's meat from this restaurant. How are they cooking it? What oils are they using? How much oil are they putting on it? It's a game changer, which is why I like to cook all my food at home. I'd rather spend money right now on my good quality meat, but not have to spend money later when I'm sick and then I have to put it on my insurance and God knows what. So spend the right money now on your quality beef, even if it's a 20 or 30% markup, but it's much better than fixing your disease later with God knows what budget you have.
We all know that when we're calorie deficit, we lose weight, right?
Correct.
What I observed for me, even when I was calorie deficit, but I wasn't eating the right food, I didn't lose weight.
Absolutely.
So if I was eating protein chips, now it's like the popular thing, or protein bars, and it's like only 100 calories. And if I was having a lot of like insulin spikes because of how I structured my meals, I just didn't lose weight, even though I was eating, let's say roughly between 1,400 and 1,800 calories, and I train every single day. I didn't lose weight.
Same thing happened to me. I know the feeling, and God knows, I mean, you know how much I train if you've been following me for a while. I mean, I train 1 hour at least every single day. I used to train sometimes twice. So I do paddle at night because I'm like, let me add more cardio and maybe I can get leaner. But at the end of the day, firstly, if you're in a calorie deficit, it's true, you will lose weight. It's math. You're eating less than you're burning, so naturally you will lose weight. But you cannot take one thing in isolation. There are things to pay attention to. Am I spiking my insulin? If I'm spiking my insulin, my insulin receptors are getting damaged, which means they're still storing my old fat. My old fat is not going to accept to be released if I'm not introducing new fat, because I'm just on salads. And all these things are a huge factor to say, I'm going to be in starvation mode right now. I'm in survival mode. Your body's in survival mode. It's going to store on to everything. If you realize and change your mindset a bit, really let go of that old mindset to say, no, but calorie deficit, no, but this is healthy, but they told me kale is good. Just release all of that and understand that your body logically will only release old fat if you introduce new fat. Protein has been something we've been eating since hunter days, since our ancestor days. How did humans get here? By eating, by hunting, by eating the animals they found out, and by eating the plants that they found as well. So all these different superfoods that are more than one ingredient, one whole ingredient or two whole ingredients, all these packaged products that have 50 different ingredients and they're labeling it as a healthy food, it doesn't make any sense. We were not eating that 20 years ago and 50 years ago and 100 years ago. I mean, even just to put it in perspective, I saw a photo once of women on the beach in the 1920s, or God knows when, I think it was 1920s, women on the beach, and the majority of them had a body composition type. Mm-hmm. If you look at the women on the beach now and the body composition type on the weighted average, I can't tell you the difference. It looks like it's a very clear understanding that the type of food we're eating now, the granolas and the oats and the whatever, are giving us a different body composition.
Wow.
Women look much different now. They have more fat stored around their waist. They have more fat stored around their hips. A lot of the women back then in the 20s had the narrow waist and a bit of hips, depending on how much they consume. But the composition of their body was completely different. They didn't have granola and oats and all these crazy things back then. They had whole foods back then. And then the people that ate more bread than others, maybe it would show. But these crazy things that we're coming out with right now, not to say delete them forever, but don't have them as your main meal. A acai bowl should not be your breakfast. Yeah. A bowl of granola with I don't know what, and all these chia seeds, they're all fat. I mean, they're fat. You cannot have that for breakfast on an empty stomach and expect your insulin not to spike, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I understand that we women need animal fat for our hormones to stay healthy. Right?
Yeah, and a lot of people have these fears of like PCOS. I have PCOS actually. I've had it for the longest time. And with PCOS, it rectifies and regulates when you start introducing fat properly again, when you're eating your animal meat again. It actually helps when most people think it's the opposite. And I've regulated my own PCOS by changing the way I eat. My period would be dispersed every 2 months. I would get it. Like, it was crazy. And most people think that, no, but I have to be vegan for that to work. And maybe I'm not in the field, but I just can say what has worked for me. And the minute I started introducing the proper ancestral diet to my life is when things have changed drastically for me. My muscles have become so much leaner. My waist has become leaner. My legs are much leaner. Nothing has changed in my training. Actually, I stopped paddle because I injured my foot, so I'm not doing the extra cardio. And I dropped my training to 4 times a week instead of 6 because I'm busy. Yeah. So with less training and no cardio, I just do weight training, I've leaned up. The only explanation is my food is the only thing that changed.
Yeah.
It's your food. Everything in terms of bulking or leaning is on your plate. And the thing with weights, and most women are afraid of weights, is because the minute you wake your muscle up, when it's sleeping, even if you're eating crap, it's sleeping. There's nothing to feed it. It's just clothes like this. But the minute you wake your muscle up through weight training, all of a sudden, whatever you're feeding matters, because the minute you introduce carbs, it's going to bulk even more than it used to. The minute you introduce protein, it's going to lean up more than it used to. If you choose to wake your muscle up with exercise, be cautious of what you're eating. If you're not waking your muscle up, then yeah, it does make sense. You're eating a chocolate cake, but you're still not bulking because your muscle's asleep. But that's not a good place to be.
Yeah.
The better place to be is to wake your muscle up and start training for longevity. You want to be fit and strong because that's what's going to keep you sustained for a very long time when you're older. But at the very least, be mindful of what you're eating at the same time, you know?
100%. I'll get into the weight training, and I'm with you 100% on weight training. I've been weight training for the last 3 years, and I will never go back to not weight train. The thing is, where a lot of coaches push, they call it healthy carbs, and they are healthy carbs. But maybe they're unhealthy, or it's not good to consume them during a fat loss journey, but they push it because we need it for explosive movement. So if, let's say, with my program, if someone is also training and they have running on their program, can they still do your program and have explosive movements without being injured?
Very good question. So the fastest way to consume energy is through glucose or carbs. So of course, if you're eating your rice or your banana, we're talking about the healthy carbs, or your, I wouldn't say oats, I wouldn't put it in healthy carbs, your sweet potato. If you're eating those things and you're on a maintenance diet, you're maintaining, I think it's absolutely fine. You consuming the rice for energy, so that imminently when you're training, you're burning that energy and you're performing at a higher performance. I have seen less performance in terms of my training when I cut out the carbs for my fat loss program. But we have to keep in mind that your body is very comfortable to burn fat for fuel. We have fat storage that your body can use for fuel. Now, are you going to be exponentially better in training? No, you will probably feel a bit dragged down, but that's why goals don't all come together. We have to kind of segregate our goals. Right now, if my goal is fat loss, I don't need to lift 100 kilos. I'm happy to lift 90. I'm okay. It's not that big of a deal. I can't run without getting very tired. I'll get a bit more tired than I used to. But my body is using my existing fat as fuel. And it's looking around, where's my glucose? Where are the carbs? Day 1, day 2, day 3, I don't have it. I have no choice but to go to Tracy's fat storage and burn her fat. That is the logic. It just makes perfect sense. And it evidently, if I check, I don't like to check by the weight on the scale, but even with weight on scale, dropping exponentially, and I measure, and I like to measure. I measure my thigh, I measure up here just to see if is it really working?
Yeah.
And I've dropped in inches, like 2 centimeters, 2.5 centimeters. It's something really miraculous to understand your body. Not everybody wants to be on a fat loss journey. Have your carbs. That's totally fine. And when I'm done with mine, which I'm near the end, I will introduce my rice again. I'll introduce sweet potato, but I'll have it in moderation because I know that I'm weight training and I'm lifting. So maybe a lot of carbs unnecessarily is not needed, right? But I could use carbs for a leg day. So right before a leg day, when I know I want to lift heavy, I'll have carbs. Do I need to have it on the weekend as well and all these random days I don't. I can have it 3-4 times a week. Everything in moderation makes sense. And when you start understanding your body, you can plan to eat properly. If you don't understand, you're winging it half the time. Winging it is the worst thing. When you wing it, you have to make decisions. When you have to make decisions, you'll make a bad one. So if I'm pre-plan, this is the nutrition guide I'm going to follow. I'm going to stop eating at this time. I'm going to start eating at this time. I'm going to eat so-and-so for breakfast and that's it. If I want sweets, I can't because today I'm not eating sweets. So it's not about what sweet am I going to have today. It's about I'm not having sweets. So if I'm cutting food at 6 p.m., even if I'm hungry at 8 p.m., the decision is I'm cutting food at 6 p.m. So having a plan, when you have it early on, which is why I want to put this guide out, because if you set it out for your month, you know this is the plan and I'm going to just stick to the plan. You know, if you're winging it every day, should I eat today carbs or not? Should I have sweets or not? Most of the time we end up relapsing. I end up having the sweets and having the carbs and having everything and then getting upset, you know?
So true. That's basically my journey, right?
It's all of our journey. And the only reason I'm able to explain it properly is because I was there. I mean, it's like the conversation between me and my friends before, like, oh my God, I finished a pizza last night. I hate my husband. He ordered, I ate half the pizza. If I have in my mind, I'm not doing carbs for 4 weeks, then as many pizzas as he orders, I don't look at it. I just do this. I just don't look that direction because I had that plan set from the beginning. I put it on a calendar, which is why I think setting it out properly and clearly through calendars, through a guide, like having real structure, cleaning out your fridge. Like I have all of that in my nutrition guide because I know it's important to, you know, set expectations before just giving someone a pamphlet, okay, do this diet or order these foods. If you don't understand why, if you're not in the right mindset to do it, you won't last 5 days.
And I'm so glad you mentioned about if you have a partner, especially us Arabs, we're also very social and we feel socially pressured when we're in a gathering and everyone's eating and then we're avoiding the food they're eating. And then I don't know if your circle is the same, but no matter what I do, I always hear comments and I always hear they would joke, they would, come on, it's just tonight. Like, come on, it's just a piece of pizza. Come on, it's just a piece of whatever. And I feel the pressure of the social gatherings. I sometimes, my husband is not like that. He's very supportive. Whenever I'm on a fat burning journey, he's very understanding. But still, there are those weekends where he's enjoying a bag of chips. And I feel bad that I'm not enjoying that with him.
I know the feeling.
And a lot of women feel either pressured or, socially or sometimes ashamed to say that they're on a diet because they've failed so many times and they're scared to say that they are on a diet again. I've been there before. I was like, I'm not going to say I'm on a diet because I've been saying that for so long and I'm not seeing results. I'm not seeing results.
You're absolutely spot on with that. It's so true. And take it from someone who is supposed to set an example because I'm in the fitness space.
Yeah.
You don't know how embarrassing it was for me in front of my own trainer. And I like to train with a trainer because she pushes me. That she would laugh at me. We have inside jokes. And she'd be like, I mean, if only people knew how ridiculous you are. He's like, all this discipline and all this mindset and Tracy's so in control. If I give you a plan for a week, you can't handle it. And I would go to her like this. She's like, what did you eat this weekend? She'd look at me, she's like, Shufi, you know, you can't stick to a proper diet. I'm like, Vera, I swear, I did it. But this person, but this birthday, but. It was always like this for 3 years. And I know why. because I was counting on willpower. If I was counting only on my willpower, trust me, I would fail every single time. I had to count on my body being nurtured enough, nurtured or satiated enough to say, okay, I feel comfortable here. So some willpower from your side and some satiation from my side, it was easy to commit.
Yeah.
That's why the type of food you're eating, not being too restrictive, not starving yourself, not waiting for very fast results by doing ridiculous diets. If you do that, then you don't have to only count on willpower. You could just count on being satiated and your body's like, oh, I actually don't want the cake now. You don't want the cake? I'm like, no, dude, something's wrong with me. How do I not want the cake? I want it every single time. But when I started eating these foods and my nutrition guide that I have, I all of a sudden didn't want the cake. And it was not so much willpower. Obviously, anything that's worthwhile, you have to put some discipline.
Yeah.
But it wasn't all like a fight. That was the biggest reason why I got so happy with it. I'm not fighting anymore. I'm done fighting. I was done giving up and failing every time and being embarrassed that I failed. I was done with that. I hated that feeling. All I wanted was to know how to eat correctly if I choose to lose fat. And if I don't choose to lose fat, we all know how to eat properly and we can maintain. But to lose fat, I wanted to know how to eat properly without suffering through it. And that's why this is the only nutrition plan that has ever worked for me.
I testify for it, even though I didn't try the whole thing, but I just duplicated her plate. And yes, I didn't have any cravings for
You're full.
For a month. Yes, I lost 5 kilos, by the way.
Bravo, I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. And I noticed that every time I have a steak, and now I'm not scared to eat it with the fat.
Yeah.
I don't get it lean. I get it with the fat.
That's what I was doing before. This is the problem. Lean, no salt, no butter. Your body's like, okay, the salt, salt, Himalayan salt and kosher salt and those rock salt, they actually stop your craving. Wow. And what we were doing was, don't touch salt. Salt is scary. So we shouldn't put any salt on our food because we'll get water retention. But the truth is that those salts actually stop you from craving sweets. So I started adding salt on my food. The animal fat actually satiates you. It stops you from craving even further, from getting hangry.
And snacking as well.
And snacking. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm having my ribeye steak that's this big, full all day. And by the time it's nighttime and it goes, there's a whole thing to it, by the way, eating with the sun, not eating when the sun goes out. There's a whole process. You can't work in isolation. It's just not just like, okay, I'll have a ribeye and I'll lose weight. No, but it has to be at a certain time and how you eat it and with what. So there's a whole combination to it. All of a sudden, I'm like day 1, day 2, day 3. I'm on day 55. I promised myself 60 days. I'm on day 55, and I'm like, how am I doing this? I'm shocked. I would never last this long. I'm telling you, 1 week was my maximum before 2 weeks if I was lucky. And this is just comfortable. And that's what's important, to do the goal that you want to do in a smart, intelligent, logical way, which is more comfortable than suffering,
Yeah. I've been criticized, and I know so many women have been as well, for measuring my macros. At the moment, I'm not measuring, but at some point I was measuring, especially when I was eating 120 grams of carbs, part of my weight loss journey. And I was measuring, and in my opinion, I needed to measure to learn about the food. But so many people project their own eating disorder or their own insecurities with food on others who like to measure the macros in their food rather than the calories, let's say. What are your thoughts on measuring or not measuring? Are you with intuitive eating? Are you against intuitive eating? What about your personal practice as well with your food or measuring your food?
Look, I've done it all. I've measured calories, I've measured macros, grams, I had the scale, I had everything. I think it's actually quite important to understand everything. So from the get-go, if you want to try checking calories, try it. So you have an understanding that when you put a spoon of peanut butter or a spoon of peanut butter, there's a difference there. And everyone's like, I just had a spoon of peanut butter. What did your spoon look like is my question. You know what I mean? Is it a spoon or is it a spoon? Because one is 600 calories and one is 150 calories, so there's a huge difference there. So absolutely understand it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with educating ourselves. Same thing with grams. Most people don't know. How big should my steak be?
Yeah.
Weigh it. See what it looks like. You will eventually be able to be intuitive. But it's nice to understand. There's nothing wrong with it. But there's also, like you said, people project their own eating disorders on us. And we all have, a lot of us have, an eating disorder to a certain extent. So one person will have it to the extent of bulimia, anorexia. Somebody else will have it to the extent of, like unable to say no, and like eating when they're anxious or binging. So to a certain extent, we are all emotionally intertwined with food. And somebody explained this to me, and a doctor once actually explained this to me. When I was telling her I had this issue, like I'm emotionally eating all the time. It's really frustrating. I have control over everything except my food. And she's like, but why are you surprised? Because as infants, when we're crying to be fed, and our moms would breastfeed us to soothe us. So we have always been by nature linking food to being soothed. But it's our job as adults, when we grow up, to know how to replace food with something else. To find something that will soothe you outside of food when you're feeling anxious or happy or stressed or whatever. So going for, let's say, a sunset walk, eating at a time where you can go right after for a sunset walk and feel soothed. Finding a tea type that you really love, that's really like cinnamon based, that's nice and soothing. That's what I do. So when I feel a craving, I'm like, okay, I want the chocolate, but I also know that the cinnamon tea that I boil on the fire for 45 minutes and it tastes like sweet also soothes me. So I obviously would prefer the chocolate, but I would go for the tea and sip it slowly and put myself in a nook in a very cute, in a very comfortable way. And I find that thing that soothed me.
Yeah.
So it's our job to be mindful enough to find those things that will replace that. But having said that, you're right. And I know I'm going to get a lot of heat when I launch my nutrition guide. I've already been getting some heat from certain people that are not accepting that somebody will have an opinion that's outside of theirs. No, but I'm a vegan, and how are you saying that this is right? Or, you're not a nutritionist, how are you giving your opinion? I'm a woman who has been trying to nail a fat loss, and I finally nailed it. And if other people want to learn from me, I'm more than happy to share it with them. As simple as that. I don't need to be wearing a white coat in order for me to share my personal guide with somebody else. And in many instances, I follow so many people's guides and workshops and business plans when I've seen them do it before me. Egg freezing journey, I've asked people who have done it before me before I went to a doctor, because I want to know how you felt, your experience, what it was like for you. And it was much more important for me for someone to know how it felt than for someone in a white coat to tell me, this is a process, this is what you're going to do, this is how it's going to feel. Have you done it? No, but
yeah,
it's great to take medical advice, as you should, but it's also nice that we live in a world now that you could share your personal experiences. I see people telling me I'm on a carnivore diet, this was my eczema, this was my acne before, and this is after, and this is what I'm eating. I'm like, okay, show me what you're eating.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're wearing a white coat or not. I care that you found the results and it's inspiring. Good for you,
And the problem is now, I have a big problem with what I eat in a day videos, because especially those who do only fruits, and they show you how much fruits they had, those who are vegan, those who are vegetarian, those who are not nutritionists, those who do not train, but they look nice. They look like a model.
Yeah.
And they're giving, in a way, nutritional advice by doing this what I eat in a day videos. And how much do they actually eat of these plates? We don't know. Maybe do they eat more? Do they eat less? I don't know.
And do they, not just that, are you eating those foods every day? Because that also matters.
Yeah.
So if you're doing, let's say, acai bowl for breakfast, and then your protein shake, and then you're having whatever, your big poke bowl with whatever, then you're having a chocolate bar with peanut butter, and then you're having your dinner. If you do that, which is obviously more than 2,000 calories,
yeah.
If you do that for a month, you're not going to look the way you look. I mean, you're obviously eating that for the day, but it's important to be clear that this is what I eat on my Saturday when I'm on whatever. Because some people will say, okay, she has abs, and she's having fruits and acai every morning, and granola, and a bowl this big of the most delicious looking granola bowl. So if I have granola, I'm going to look the same. That's what makes it misleading. And I'm like,
I did that. I did this mistake, and I didn't look like her in the months.
It's misleading. It is misleading. It's not fair because it's hard for us, right? We want to know the answer, and we're looking for any inspiration to get the answer.
And then I know I did that, and I know so many women did that. We would blame our hormones, we would blame our thyroid, we would blame the environment we live in. Dubai has so many, like we have access to so many foods, and like we're constantly being triggered by like food ads. Like I blamed everything but myself.
And the truth is that it's none of those things, as much as it is our decision to learn and understand how our bodies function biologically. How does it respond to food? To understand the environment in the sense of eating with the sunlight. What does the circadian rhythm mean? Why should we be sleeping why should we have sleep in our life? Sleep 8 hours. A lot of people are sleeping 5 hours and they're boasting about it. Like, yeah, I don't need to sleep. I could function on 8. But do you know what's happening to your body when you're not sleeping?
Yeah.
You're not digesting your food. You're storing all of the fat in your body. Your body's stressed because it doesn't have cognitively the room to be clear, to work on other things and like to work on clearing your cells, your toxic cells and all of those things. I mean, everything is intertwined. And I had to spend hours and hours and hours podcasts, reading about it, reading books, doing courses to understand. And I'm proud of that. So it's not like, I mean, I think this is our life. We have one shot at it. I mean, know as much as you can about different things that matter. And I think a huge thing that matters is nutrition. To understand how not to fight with food anymore. We shouldn't be in this boxing match with food anymore, you know?
It is tiring.
And it's tiring, it's time consuming, it's exhausting. It takes a toll on your character, on your ego. I mean, it's messed up. So if you figure it out, you can park it and then focus your life on raising kids eating correctly. I mean, eventually I'm going to have children.
Yeah.
Imagine I was feeding my kids what I was being fed. I mean, I had cereal and Cocoa Puffs every single morning as I was growing up. So what do you think is happening to my insulin receptors after 30 years of eating garbage? I was eating manouche every single day. I was having the Nestle, what's it called? The condensed milk in my coffee all of my university. I mean, what the hell? What damage have I been doing to my gut? And I wonder why I've been so addicted to sweets. I wonder why it was so difficult for me to say no. And I'm so upset with myself. It was my body telling me, I'm not ready, dude. I mean, you've done a whole addiction thing to me for the past 30 years. You need to reboot. And when I chose to reboot, some willpower, some understanding of nutrition, it changed everything.
And help from the actual food that you feel satiated and like you don't crave basically.
Exactly.
And I experienced
you have to exhaust your old habits and the old sugars and the old spikes that you've had for God knows how long. You have to exhaust it. You have to flush it out of your body before you restart. And most people don't want to understand that phase, or they don't want to do it to begin with. But I don't believe that you could, I mean, you can lose on calorie deficit, but if you really, really want to reboot the cravings, the control, which is much more important than the weight, in my opinion, the lack of control and the cravings and all of that stuff, if you want to really put a reset button on that, then you have to do it correctly. You have to exhaust your body from that glucose and from that sugar for you to reintroduce it correctly in moderation in future. Other than that, you're going to have to fight with willpower for the whole time. You can do it. I can lose weight by eating a dark chocolate here and this there and that there, but I'm fighting with willpower the whole time. I wanted my body to stop demanding sugar. That's what I wanted. I needed to reboot. And the only way to do it was really to say, flush it out now, Tracy, you know?
And have you noticed your cravings being different around your menstrual cycle as well?
100%. I mean, I'm crazy on my menstrual cycle with my food, especially with sugar. And when I've done this process, actually, because I've been so mindful of my food now, like because I'm putting out a program, I took it to another level. Every morning, what my weight is, what I ate, how I felt, what my mood is, what my ketones are. Ketones is the acid in your liver that you excrete when you're burning fat, when you're in fat burning phase. I bought the machine, taking my blood sample every single morning. I was doing the whole thing. Like I went the whole 9 yards. To understand. And I realized something's wrong. I'm feeling like, it's like your heart palpitates, you know? And then I see something sweet. I see the peanut butter in my closet that's been there for 20 days and I'm not touching it. But then I'm like, why now? I'm like, let me count. Oh yeah, my period's coming. Evidently my period comes. But you see, if you're mindful of yourself and your body, I'm even mindful when I'm eating now. Like I have my plate, I put my breakfast, I don't check my phone. Before I was eating like this in passing, right? Mindfully putting my plate up, eating correctly, tasting the food, feeling my gut, and realizing I feel so good. This food is great. Lunch comes, same thing. Dinner comes, same thing. I'm never gassy. I'm so comfortable. I sleep like a baby. Every day I'm mindful of my breakfast, my lunch, and my dinner. And I realize this is how we should be. So we have to be pretty mindful when we're eating. And that's the only way we're going to understand, you know? Most people think oats are good for you. I heard oats are good for me, so I'm going to eat oats every morning. But are you really paying attention to how you're feeling after you're having oats? And I'm pretty sure most of us, if we try to see how am I feeling after the oats, aside from what I'm told, oats are good, oats are a superfood. All the food industries are trying to, the different heads of the food industries are trying to sell you something because they're making billions off of it. Yeah. So they're going to sell oats are a great superfood, although it was peasant food, literally. This is how they've labeled it, that this is what they used to give back in the day, the peasants or the poor people, in order for them just to function on the fields. Like, that's what oats are. It's the most depleting, it depletes most of your nutrients and your energy from your body when you're eating oats. Wow. And yet we're putting granola bars and these amazing looking bars that taste amazing, but they're not healthy. And if you really listen to your gut to say, do I feel good? Believe me, nobody feels good after they eat oats. It doesn't make you feel skinny. It doesn't make you, it bloats you. Yeah. So most people hear what they want to hear. They don't pay attention to how they feel, and that's how they move with life.
And that goes on with the oat milk as well, because now it's really popular with coffee.
Right.
Everyone loves
soy milk, and I don't know what. I mean,
it's we're struggling. Like, we are up against a lot of industries, honestly.
But they're smarter than us. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You're so right about that. These industries know exactly what they're doing. The Kellogg's industry, for example, this is a huge one. For 10 years, they were grooming everybody to believe butter is terrible for you, meat is terrible for you, knowing fully this is the marketing plan for the next 10 years, because we're going to be launching so and so and so oils on our shelves, and so products on our shelves that we're going to make billions off of, because we would have made a whole generation believe that cholesterol is going to come your way if you eat eggs, or if you have meat, or if you have whatever. They don't make money if you're healthy. They only make money if you're sick. People don't realize that they need you sick to start making money.
So I read in the news that Nestle has lost in revenue because of Ozempic and Mujaro and all those appetite suppressing injections, and now they are creating frozen food for those who are taking the Ozempic.
No.
I swear, they think about money all the time. We are just consumers for them, and that's it.
Yeah, that's so sad.
It is sad. I was shocked to see how capitalism is willing to go that far to label certain food for people who are taking Ozempic, so they can sell more.
They'll tell you, keep doing that, which, by the way, the things I'm reading up on, if you're on Ozempic, you're going to have to do it forever.
Wow.
There's because it causes some sort of damage afterwards. It may switch off temporarily your craving hormone or your craving button, but when you get off it, if you haven't really worked on the eating habit, the habit comes back. You end up putting all the weight back on because you haven't got rid of the habit. The habit is a mindset. If you haven't worked on the mindset that you have towards food, then you can switch off the button as much as you want for as many months as you want. Switch it back on and see what happens. And we see this with people who do sleeves. How many people do you know have done the sleeve and have put all the weight back on?
My brother.
Your brother.
I'm not going to go so far. My brother did it and he gained the weight.
You know why? Because the habit was never worked on. You haven't changed the habit. You have just done the operation to do the temporary fix. But when your habit kicks in again, there you go. The weight comes back on.
Yeah, 100%.
The only way to work it out for anyone, and I know people have extreme levels of eating disorders, from obese people to whatever, but I believe that it all starts with a habit. I'm sure there are some hormonal issues when it's an extreme case like obesity and stuff. But there's habit that has to be taught, a new habit that has to be taught. I've followed so many people who were completely obese and have shredded completely because they decided enough is enough. I need to get working. Now, whether they do therapy included, whether they have to work on their hormones and they change their habit, yes, I'm sure it all goes hand in hand. But we cannot just say, but it's my hormones, but it's a eating disorder, but, and not even try to change the habit. It might be harder for some than others. It is harder for some than others. Maybe some people mentally are not as healthy as others when it comes to their relationship with food. So it is harder, but we have to work on it. I mean, it is hard. And no one's saying it's not, but you have to put the effort. You have to try, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I would love to tap into training, but I would love to hear it from you. You're always advocating that it's never too late.
Yeah.
I grew up with my mom. Hi, Mom, I love you, but I'm going to say it. I grew up listening to her mantra, after 30, everything changes. After 30, your metabolism goes down. After 30, losing weight becomes harder for you.
I can't tell you how untrue that is. But it's not your mom, bless her, because all of our moms did the same thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what we were told. And we're now knowing from this conversation, from many other things, that not everything we're told is true. And actually, your mom is not wrong, only if you are not helping yourself. If you are choosing not to train, not to move, eating whatever you want, not to work on your mind, not to work on your body, yeah, age is going to catch up with you. And yes, 30 and 31 and 32 is going to start feeling like 60. But if you are choosing the harder route, which is, now I have to go to the gym, now I have to be mindful of my food, now I have to pay attention to, how I dress, how I take care of myself. You have to put some discipline for the things that are worthwhile. Nothing worthwhile is going to come easy. So 100% I'm with your mom. If you're choosing to take the easy route in life and not train, not sweat, not be bothered mentally, not try, not challenge yourself at all, 30 is going to suck and 40 is going to suck. But the opposite is 1000% true. If you are taking care of your mind and your body and your health, 35 and 37, I'm 37 to get going on 38, I feel like a rock star compared to what I felt in my 20s, because I'm more mature, I'm more calm, I'm more collected. You have more of a visibility on your career and understanding of what you want to do in life in your 30s than in your 20s. So your 20s are for trial and error, making mistakes, failing.
Yeah.
And you should be okay with that. It's not for figuring everything out in your 20s. Your 30s and your 40s, if done well, if done with discipline, if done mindfully, you could be at your best place ever. And I'm only talking in my 37. I've seen women before that are older than me that I also get inspired by when I see them on social media. At 45 and 50, they look amazing. And it takes work to look like that. They feel amazing, and it takes work to look like that. They have an amazing relationship because they have an amazing relationship with their partners that they've been with for 20 years, and it takes work to have made it amazing. Nothing worthwhile is going to come easy.
Yeah, definitely. With weight training, a lot of women are scared of bulkiness, which we both know that's not, it's only true if the food is wrong.
Correct.
And they're scared of weight training because they think it might hurt their joints, or they might get a disc in their spine from lifting heavy. And we've seen online pictures of women who compete with weightlifting who look big, who look bulky. And we've seen women and men who get injured from weightlifting. How can you address that in a way so women are more encouraged to go for weightlifting, because both can be true and wrong at the same time?
So when we're talking about women who are competing and men who are competing, they're competing. Their goal is to be the strongest they can possibly be, to lift the heaviest possible weight for their body, which means they need to bulk on carbs. They need to bulk on all of these foods that are going to make their muscle open up, and feed it and stuff it with carbs so that your muscle is bigger, so that you can carry as big. So naturally, they are going to look like that because that's what they want. It is the goal to be big and bulky so that they could lift heavy. Now, if your goal is not that, lifting weights and eating correctly, I believe, what I know to be true, is that it will shred you more than anything else. I've said this example before, and I'll say it again. If you want to think of a kilo of a weight dumbbell that looks this big, okay? 1 kilo of cotton, how do you imagine it to look? You probably need this much cotton to put on a scale for it to be 1 kilo.
Yeah.
They're both a kilo, but look what one looks like and look what the other one looks like. This is exactly what weight does to you. Weight training, when you're bulking on muscle, looks like this at 60 kilos. But then when you don't have muscle and you're 60 kilos, your body looks completely different. So it really has to do with how you're feeding yourself the bulking. It goes back to that, just the answer to your question with how women and men look big when they're bulking, because their goal is not to look lean. Their goal is, I want to lift heavy. I want to make my muscle as big as possible. So yeah, they're bulking. Now to answer your question on injuries, the opposite is actually true. If you have enough muscle, like if you work on the structure, which is your muscle, this is what's going to keep you from getting osteoporosis in future. What's going to help you not injure your ankle, injure your knee when you're doing change of direction, when you're playing paddle, for instance. Yeah. Most of the paddle players I know are all injured, but most of the paddle players I know don't weight train. They all have just discovered a new sport that's fun. They haven't trained in 5 or 6 years, and they're like, oh, now I like this new sport, let me start training. So when you have zero muscle base that's protecting your joints, and you're deciding to shift directions and go that heavy on paddle, you're damn right you're going to sprain ankle, you're going to sprain your knee, you're going to injure your back. I have done 100 false moves in my paddle sessions. I've, some false moves, and not one time, thank God, not one time I have injured myself, because I know I have really solid foundation of muscle to keep my bones intact and to keep my joints intact. That's what muscle does for you. Muscle does not injure you. Muscle actually protects you, and the only way you're going to get muscle is through lifting weights. Yeah. So weight lifting done correctly with the right coach to coach you, obviously you're not going to lift mindlessly. If you're going to lift mindlessly and you don't know what you're doing, naturally you're going to injure yourself. But imagine doing it correctly. You can't injure yourself. It's actually proven that when you're lifting weights, it is the most slow form, like as opposed to sports. In sports you can injure yourself because you're moving quickly. With weightlifting, it's much harder to injure yourself because you're doing everything slow and controlled. True, yeah. You're static, you're going down slow, you're lifting up slow. You can't injure yourself like that unless you're doing it wrong. And the idea is obviously if you don't know what you're doing, to get help. So someone teaches you how to do it correctly. And then most likely you're not going to injure yourself for no reason, you know?
Yeah, 100%. For women who never tried weightlifting, and I believe every woman should. Now, by the way, I left my mom in the hospital. She just did a shoulder surgery because the tendons, yeah, were like they torn and like were displaced, so they had to put it back because she doesn't do weight training, and any movement she does, like if she opens the curtains, it would tear her shoulders. Yeah. So I am 100% on weight training.
Even hips, like you know how many, there's a statistic, I forget now exactly what the number is, but hip displacement, or when people, when they get older, they displace their hips, it's because they don't have muscle to keep your hips intact. And the death rates on just hip displacement are so high just because people don't have muscle. Like muscle is your organ of longevity. Yeah. If you don't understand that it's not about, I don't want to bulk, I don't feel like training, I want to look lean, I want to look skinny, but you're not thinking far. You have to realize that muscle is the only thing that's going to make you age young, age gracefully. If you're worried about aging, then you should be worrying about your muscle composition, because that's what's going to allow you to stand up like this when you're 70 instead of standing up like this at 70. That is what's going to help you. It's only muscle. There's a huge difference between men that train and men that don't train. If you look at men at 70 years old and just see the difference of how they can pick themselves up and down, walk very comfortably. They look like they're 40. You see amazing body composition because muscle is the organ of longevity, and it will keep you young. The idea is not to be old and stay old at 90. The idea is to be healthy at 90, to feel independent at 90. It's not just to be 90. I don't want to be 90 and feel like everybody needs to help me and I can't stand up by myself. I want to be 90 and self-sufficient. And the only thing that's going to help you get there is eating properly and muscle.
Yeah. And I feel like for so many women who are like considering having kids, I feel like carrying the baby weight would be much easier if they weight train, right?
If you have a strong back, then you have zero problems when you're carrying a 5-6 kilo baby in front of you. I mean, with the weight that you have. I mean, most people have back pains because they have a new weight all of a sudden that popped up out of nowhere, and their back muscles are unable to sustain that. So if you have the right strength, that you know how to carry your body and you have good posture, you don't have back pain. You don't have pains anymore when you're pregnant. My trainer, was pregnant two babies in a row in a span of 2.5 years. She literally got pregnant 1 year, like a few months after she gave birth. She was like a horse until like a week before delivery. She was lifting my 100 kilos, putting it up and down, putting it on the scale. Now, I'm not saying this is for everybody. She obviously knows what she's doing. But because she's strong, she turns this way, you don't even notice she's pregnant. And she turns this way, she's pregnant. I'm like, wow, I need to look like that she has good discipline with her food. But the point being is that no back pain. She had no issues. She's solid and strong. She can manage holding that baby safely. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I heard those fears from women when I advocate for like weight training. They would say, I don't want my arms to get bigger, my shoulders to get wider. Like they somehow appreciate being petite in a way.
But you know what people don't realize? Just how hard it is to build muscle.
Yeah, especially us women, right?
It is so hard for women's body composition, to make your muscle move from this to this. Yeah. You have no idea what it takes. And like I was saying earlier, it's the inflammation and the food that you're eating that's bulking you. It's the water retention on top of your muscle that's bulking you. And it is not your muscle that's bulking you. And if you just realize that you shed that water retention, you get rid of that inflammation, you can barely see your muscles. I mean, all the leg workouts that I do, all the glute workouts that I do, I carry 230 kilos on my glutes when I do hip thrusts.
Yeah.
And my glutes just look fine. It's all like, you're like, oh, wow, these magical glutes of Tracy. I mean, it took all this work and my glutes are okay. It takes a lot for your muscle to show. It takes a lot. And then people are holding 5 kilos and they're worried that they're going to get bulky quads.
Yeah.
And it's just not true.
Yeah, that's the thing. They think they will get Nicki Minaj's kind of glutes if they
because it's easier for them to blame the weights than to blame them and their relationship with food.
Yeah.
This is the problem. And not to point fingers, I was the same. I was telling my trainer for years, but maybe you should put less weights for me, but maybe. And then she's looking at me like, please don't start, Tracy. Please don't start, Tracy. You're eating crap, yes or no? Yeah. Okay, so it's your food, it's not the weight. Like, even with my understanding of weight training, my first year with her, I kept telling her, but maybe we go less on weights. I'm scared it's bulking me. My thighs are thicker. She kept trying to tell me, just do 1 month with the program, like the nutrition I'm telling you to do. Now, she has better willpower than me. So the nutrition guide that she gave me, I couldn't do because it was all about willpower. It was cut on fat, cut on salt, cut. I personally could not sustain that, which is why I had to do my own research. And I found the guide that allowed me not to use only my willpower, but to satiate me. But she was right all along. It was only my food. I still carry as heavy. And it was the only variant that changed was my food. And I lost 6 kilos because of it.
How beautiful it is that you have a very healthy relationship with her.
Yeah.
She respected that program didn't work for you, and she let you do your own research. And
look, honestly, and I talk to her every single day. We talk about, when we're training together, I'm like, okay, so today I'm doing this. I'm going to stop eating at this time. This is what I'm doing with this program. I learned this, I learned that. And all she says is, you do what is right for you. Not everybody has the same relationship with food, the same mindset. I mean, it goes back to, let's say, me giving advice to someone who's obese. I don't know what it's like to be in the mind of someone who's obese and what they're feeling and how their relationship with food is. I mean, for, let's say, training is a good example. For me, training is who I am. It's my identity. So I really identify with a person that's athletic. So it doesn't take willpower for you to tell me to go to the gym. It is just part of what I do. You don't even need to convince me. I'm going to go. But for other people, they will go 6 months or 1 year without stepping foot in the gym because it is not who they are. So they're going to have to use much more willpower than I will use because I just identify with a person who's athletic now.
Yeah.
Like, I hope to identify with a person who understands how to control food, you know? So for her, she's just so good with food. She doesn't care. She's so busy. She eats what she needs to eat. And food is not an issue for her, but it was an issue for me.
Yeah.
So her style of telling me what not to eat or what to eat did not work for me personally because I couldn't use my willpower anymore. And she was completely fine with that. She's like, I love the fact that you found the thing that works for you. And she's a friend. At the end of the day, she wants the best for me. It's not like, oh, only my program, only my thing. And her program, I mean, it's so funny because she has done before and after pictures with a lot of the people that train with her. And she wanted to do it before and after for me. But obviously, I don't have much body fat to lose. So she wanted it to be a big change so that it's worth the photos. Otherwise, they're going to look more or less the same if it's 2 kilos. So I kept telling her, I'm like, I see people coming and going, new people coming and going. All of them have photos all over your Instagram. I'm the only one who is like condoning athleticism and condoning all this. And I'm the only one that doesn't get photos because I can't stick to a damn diet for a month. It's ridiculous.
But now you will get your photos.
I'll get my photos, yeah. But she basically, her diet works amazing for people that are shredding, that have the consistency that could. I just couldn't do it that way.
Yeah.
Because I had the bare minimum fat and I wanted to lose that fat because I just felt like seeing my abs. I felt like seeing my legs, and it's hard. It's much easier if you're a bit more overweight to lose on like a sustainable diet,
Yeah. What was I don't know if it's the right word to use, but like the trigger or the motivator when you were like, yeah, I want to be an athlete. Was there like a moment, or was there a trigger? Maybe your family weren't healthy and that triggered you to be like athletic and healthy and lift. Like, was there an event that pushed you to that point?
Look, I mean, I used to train like the average person. I even was at some point in my 20s. The kind of person that would train 5 days a week, and then I wouldn't train for 6 months. And then I would feel like flabby everywhere. I had zero muscle. So I was that too. But I think the thing that changed was when I left my finance job and I spent more time hanging out in the gym because I found a new type of training, which is handstands and calisthenics, like this fun stuff. It was like fun. Yeah. It wasn't weightlifting for me. So I just wanted to nail those things. So I started getting good at handstands. I started flipping. It was just like I was a kid again. And those things made me want to understand, like, I am building muscle now. I'm strong now. I can do 1 pull-up now. I can do this. So because I became good at it and I started understanding my body and being mindful of my body is when I'm like, okay, I want to do a bit more. I want to get a bit better. I want to be a bit stronger because I just started somehow, but it wasn't because someone or something made me. It's just because I found a skill or a type of training that I thought was fun, and I had the time on my hands, and I just wanted to get good at the skill. Yeah. And it developed into me understanding my body, wanting to take a course because people were asking me to teach. So I just took the course. When I took the course, I'm eligible to teach, and it was like one ripple effect after the other,
Yeah, definitely. I used to also dance, by the way, so I know your sister.
My sister.
Yeah. I know a lot of dancers get injured because they don't do weight training. Even ballerinas, they get injured, they get hip replacements because they don't do weight training because they want to keep their muscles long and like very lean. But I know your sister does weight training.
Yeah.
Did you push her to do that?
Yes. First of all, let's talk about this. There is no such thing as Pilates makes your muscles long.
Thank you.
Please, just do not do that. Do not say that anymore. It's a marketing scheme for you to think that Pilates is meant for long, lean muscles. We have 2 joints. They do not become longer and shorter depending on the workout that you do. They are stuck over here. Physiologically, it's impossible. There's one here and one here. It just doesn't go like this and like this if I do Pilates or if I do weight training. Is this not true? Okay? Let's just put it out there. So when ballerinas are thin, because they have long, lean muscles, is because, first of all, they're on points a lot. They have their muscles show, and they're probably starving themselves, which means food is a huge determinant of whether your muscles are going to look bulky or not. With weight training, because weights wake up your muscles more than if you're not lifting weights, you have to be even more mindful of your food, which is why it seems like you have short muscles when you're weight training and you have long muscles when you're not. I mean, I look thinner and taller than I was before because my muscles are leaner now. So I actually look taller, but if you were to measure my length of my muscle, it's the same. It hasn't changed. It is not 3 centimeters longer or shorter. So this crap about Pilates making your muscles longer, please just don't say that anymore. It is not true. But yeah, they did well in their marketing, right? Because they wanted more girls to join Pilates. So they're like, yeah, it makes your muscles lean and long, and then you have short muscles when you're weight training. It's just not true. It just appears a bit longer because you're stretching it out and you're being more flexible, and you're probably eating correctly and not bulking so much when you're not lifting weights.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I wanted to touch on. Carry on. Thank you.
How did she feel after she started weight training?
Much better. So there's only so much that dance can give you. It's good for movement, it's good for cardio, but with longevity and with age, you need muscle. You can get away with not having muscle in your 20s. You can't get away with not having muscle in your 30s and your 40s and your 50s. And my sister's pushing 38, so she needs muscle in the right places to not feel lower back pain. Like her glutes need to get stronger. Her joints need to feel better. Her knees need to feel better. My knees were so terrible before. I had such bad knee pain. I had to build the muscle around my knees so that it holds my kneecap properly, so it's safe. And then my pains went away. My glutes, I had to make them stronger so my lower back pain goes away. I had almost like a bad posture, and because I do pull-ups now, my back straightened.
Yeah.
That's what muscle does for you, aside from anything else. So yeah, she understood that, she knows that, and she feels great weight training. You feel strong. Other than all of this, there's no better feeling than feeling strong. If anyone is looking for just to be confident, if that's what your goal is, I believe the best way to feel confident is to start in the gym and lift some weights. It's the easiest way, not the best way, the easiest way. Because when you do become stronger, physiologically, your confidence builds. You don't feel small and frail anymore. You feel like powerful when you feel strong. So confidence is very much intertwined with weight training, I believe. Most women I know who are lifting heavy feel good. They feel strong.
Yeah.
And if you want some confidence and you don't know where to start, the easiest way to start is go to the gym, lift some weights. And believe me, in 2 months and 3 months, you're going to feel amazing.
It's so rewarding, by the way, as well, because when you start and 4 kilos feels heavy, a few weeks later, 8 kilos feels easy. And then you feel so rewarded.
It's so nice. That's the thing. It's like small wins.
Yeah.
Every time I go and I couldn't believe I lifted this. And, some days are bad, some days are good. But then you power through, it trains your mental toughness. There's nothing like it. I think it's really, really important for us to put ourselves in that situation where we're training our discipline, we're training our mental toughness. And an easy, simple way that's accessible to everybody is through training.
Yeah. I would love to know if the guy who claimed that women can't do pull-ups reached out to you, because you really went after him.
He ignored me, by the way. I actually tagged him. I'm like, hello. He ignored me.
He went after him.
He pretended like he didn't even see the post. So I'm like, dude, but I'm sure other people have tagged him too.
Yeah,
So he probably missed it. He's probably like, I wish I never said that. But to be fair to him, he said statistically, weighted average.
Yeah.
I was just teasing him, obviously, because I know I could do pull-ups. But I do believe that if we're taking all women and you put them on a scale on an average, there's the majority of women that can't even do half a pull-up or nothing, nowhere near that. And much less women are able to pull up. So if you're looking at the average, it's skewing towards 0 and 1. And it makes sense, but I get what he was like. He should have paid attention, because he had to expect that women that could do it were going to come after him,
Yeah, 100%. For me, with my journey with pull-ups, I'm still being assisted with bands. Yeah, I'm not there yet. But it's something that I would love to achieve, because, as you said, it builds so much confidence, not just in the gym, but also outside the gym.
Yeah.
With people in my career, I see how in the last 3 years, my personality changed since I started weight training.
Yeah.
My relationship with women and men became also different in a way. So I can't emphasize enough how important it is that we do weight training, and it's not enough to use the body weight, right? It's not enough.
Look, it depends. If you're using body weight, it can be enough. Like pull-ups are body weight, right? So if you are using the weight of your body, like 40 kilos of your body in a plank, and if you're doing single leg stuff, so you're using the weight of your body, that's weight training, technically. You know what I mean? So it's not like you're doing dance. You're using resistance. The idea is to use resistance.
Yeah.
Even if it's your own body weight, if you're doing a Bulgarian or a lunge, you're carrying your body weight. So to use resistance training is the better language to use, so that you're either using weights, you're using bands, you're using your body, you're using something that is resisting and adding extra layer of weight to your arms or to your abs or to your legs. That's the key, because that's what's going to build your muscle, some resistance. A lot of people do calisthenics. They don't lift weights, and they're ripped. They're ripped because they're pulling themselves up. They're doing push-ups. They're doing one-leg push-ups. They're doing all of these crazy things. Yeah, that's weights, It's just resistance training that's important.
And how can how can gyms become less intimidating for women? I know they might be intimidating too for men, but since the show is for women, how can they be less intimidating? Or what do women need to do to feel less intimidated? I know when I started, I was really intimidated. I didn't know what equipment, what it did, or how to do it. Even though it had pictures, I was confused about everything. And I was so self-conscious because I felt like everyone knew that I was new there, but people don't care if they're not paying attention. But it was like that self-importance kind of.
Everyone's watching.
Yeah.
The world revolves around you.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think there's anything gyms can do, because it's not the gym's problem to make it fluffy and nice and put flowers and pink pillows for it to be comfortable for women. What is more important is that we realize that it is a us problem. For men and women, if I feel intimidated, if I feel insecure because I'm walking to a gym and I don't know what I'm doing, that's a me problem. It's not a gym problem. And the only way out of it is to show up anyway, to push past the discomfort, to push past the ego and the embarrassment, and to learn. Pick it up, get good at it, and then you'll be out of that situation. Otherwise, you're going to continue not to want to face your fear because it's uncomfortable, because you're ashamed, because you're embarrassed, because you don't want other people to laugh at you. And I speak from a position of being in the same situation. I walked into that calisthenics gym when I left my finance job at 31, not knowing how to do one pull-up, not knowing how to do anything in that sense. I used to do one type of training, weight training, squats and stuff that has nothing to do with push-ups, pull-ups, handstands, and I had to fall on my face 3,000 times, have 20-year-old boys and girls spot me because I didn't know what I was doing. I looked like an idiot, but I had to say, I either want to learn, look like an idiot, it will pass, eventually I'll be good, or I'm going to shy away and say, but this is intimidating, it's the gym's fault. I need pink pillows over here and some flowers for me to feel comfortable. So it's nice to look inwards and always take responsibility for everything. At least this is a lesson. To take responsibility for how you feel, for your insecurities, for your triggers, for what makes you uncomfortable. Work through it and just be a better person after it. Most people choose not to work through it. Most people choose not to do what you did. They don't want to go to the gym. I'm not good. I don't know how to use this weight. I mean, it's not a woman problem. It's men problem too. How many men do I see in the gym and I'm like, I can't believe he's rowing this way. I can't believe he thinks this machine does this. But they're doing it anyway. And they think they know what they're doing. And yeah, maybe some people are laughing, but at some point, this guy's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And we all figure stuff out. It doesn't just stop at the gym. It's a lesson for everything in life, right? You never want to open a business because you don't know how. You don't want to put yourself, I don't know. You don't want to be in a relationship because you're embarrassed or you're scared that they're not going to love you. I mean, then what are we doing with our lives? We're not moving forward because we're scared and we're letting fear drive us.
So true. I want to congratulate you on Mama Buzo.
Thank you.
Hands-on. It's the best ice cream.
You tried it?
Of course. I didn't even try it. I made everyone try it.
I'm so glad.
That good.
Thank
and
you.
I'm an ice cream person. Like, there's no brand in the UAE that I haven't tried, whether it's like global or local.
Yeah.
And it's really, I didn't know that we can taste our culture, if that makes sense.
It's exactly what our message is. It's like the culture and the nostalgia of our traditions as Arabs is in that ice cream.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, to make it feel like home, you know?
Really, congratulations on choosing to go with it. It feels like, I wonder how, when you tasted it, how did you feel? Were you excited?
Oh my God, you have no idea. So when our partners had approached us, they started with a recipe. And when they approached us, they're like, listen, to my husband and I, we want to make this a proper brand as opposed to a home recipe. How? Like, guide us. And they know that this is our industry and our field. Like, okay, sure, come over. We'll try the flavors. Let's see. My husband and I looked at each other. We're like, no way. No way. Hello, we're working on this together. You know, we're very happy very quickly. We're like, dude, we can blow this up for you. Believe me, it's an amazing product. So just add on top of it the good right marketing and we're golden. And evidently it showed. I mean, we started doing super well. We're now delivering across all of Dubai and in Abu Dhabi. So we're so happy. I mean, it's just so fun to work on a product like ice cream. And as we have been talking about, I have a huge sweet tooth. I love good sweets. So I know how to market it properly. I know what to do with it because I know I'm the customer. You know what I mean? I'm like the biggest customer of sweets. So it's been such a journey. It's been so fun. We have some flavors in the pipeline. We have new ideas coming up. It's been a good journey.
I love it. I would love to know if when you decided to go with working with them on the Mama Bouza, did you think about maybe confusing your audience with, because you represent fitness and you represent health, and you had your fat burning program coming up as well, and confusing them with ice cream.
Yeah.
Did you think about that or worry about?
Look, I have always been one to be very bold and blunt. I don't pretend to be something I'm not. And I've always showed my social life. I've always showed my what I eat, the desserts on the table, and I've also showed that's what my weekend looks like, and my weekdays look like this. And evidently, this is how life is. It's about balance, and I like to promote people to be balanced and centered. And balance doesn't mean I only eat salads all day and I do my morning meditation. And no, that's not who I am, and that's a complete false image of what balance looks like. So the ice cream business never triggered me to say, no, but hold on, I'm in fitness. Because fit people should know how to manage food around them. They should be able to indulge on the right time and not indulge on the right time. And that's the lesson I want to give. I don't want to tell people you have to cut out sugar for the rest of your lives. You cannot touch anything that is not healthy. I want to show people or motivate people to understand that it's more important to feed yourself what's right and to have control over your mind, control over your food, control over your emotions, which means when you choose to have the ice cream, you control that. When you choose to have the meat and your salads, you control that. And the food is not controlling you. If my ice cream starts controlling people, that would be a scary place to be. Sometimes it controls me, I'm not going to lie. I finish a whole chocolate tub by myself. But I have to have the power to say, not this week, Mama Bouza, I'll have it on the weekend.
Yeah.
And it's okay. So I could be all for promoting ice cream and promoting fitness because I'm promoting life. It's a balance.
True. That's very true.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best with Mama Bouza. It's really like one of the best. I can say it is the best ice cream I've tried, in my personal opinion. All the flavors are amazing. My personal favorite is dates because it's the sweetest, probably.
It's the only one that has zero sugar added.
No way.
I swear, it's the only one that's only made from dates and monk fruit. It has zero refined sugar in it. The only one.
Wow.
So good choice.
I love it, honestly. And I made everyone in my family try it. I made everyone at work try it.
Amazing.
Everyone I meet. Have you tried Mama Bouza?
I'm so glad. Thank you for that.
So everyone, if you haven't tried it, you're missing out. Really, you're missing out. You're missing out on Mama Bouza. You should try it after the shooting.
It's so good. Truly.
Is there anything that you would like us to cover that maybe I haven't touched on? I related to you so much when you started sharing your own journey with food and like fat loss, and I felt like if I felt that I'm relating to her, so many women relate to as well.
I'm sure. This is a big topic, and I've only discovered, it's not in my area to create a nutrition guide for people to do, but because of the demand, why are you taking photos of your plate that looks like that? What are you eating? How are you eating this way? I put a poll, the number of people that are commenting in the poll, I'm like, people want to know. Like, I understand the struggle. It is a huge struggle not to know what you're eating, or not to understand how to eat, or not to understand your body, or how to lose fat. It's a huge problem for men and women alike. So many men, even doctors, are messaging me, just spill the beans, but tell me what the damn nutrition guide is. Why do you keep putting these photos? They all want to know because it's an everybody problem. So I'm so glad we spent the whole hour really touching on this.
Yeah.
Because I know it's something that most people want to understand. It's difficult. I've had recently a doctor on my podcast. She's a gynecologist, hormone doctor, and natural medicine, whatever. She has all these certifications. She's amazing. And she even said to me, point blank, which goes back to my white coat thing, all my years, I asked her, I'm like, all your years of medical school, how many hours did you spend studying nutrition? She started laughing. She's like, I don't even remember doing it. Maybe an elective or something.
Wow.
She said, it's a learning that I had to relearn for the next 4 years. After she was done, she spent 3-4 years going into nutrition and health because she realized all of her patients are coming to her with hormone problems that she didn't know how to solve because she never realized food was the biggest element as opposed to putting them on medications. If they just knew how to fix their food, their sleep, the environment around them, then 9 out of 10 times they came back with their hormone problem solved. Yet a doctor is even saying this to me. So it's not my opinion. It is doctors saying, I don't even have the answers on nutrition. They taught me this. They never told me that food could help solve my hormone problems, you know?
Yeah. Well, it all starts with food. I mean, when we're stressed, we need to eat the right food. When we're tired, we eat the right food. When we're sick, we eat the right food. Absolutely. Doctors haven't studied nutrition. That's a problem.
I can't tell you how many meal plans I've been on where I wanted to lose body fat. And obviously, like I was saying earlier, my body, it has to be more picky with the right food. It's not just a calorie deficit game anymore. A calorie deficit works if I'm 15 kilos overweight. It will work. But at some point, when you want to shred that last bit, macros matter, what you're eating matters, the fat-burning food, like I talked about, matters. It's not just a deficit game. I need to get rid of the water retention and inflammation. And then I'm just getting meals like a bread this big with a piece of halloum cheese for my breakfast. Why am I eating bread and cheese on a meal plan diet? Like, what is this logic? Why aren't you putting eggs or tuna or salmon for me instead of putting like a giant piece of baguette bread this thick that's like stale and dry with cheese? It's unacceptable. I mean, really, it's a business. Everything's a business. It's cheaper probably, and it's in a calorie deficit, so it's okay. And they want people to feel good, right? They're going to tell you, but on our meal plan, you can still have spaghetti, and you can still have risajij, and you can still have a piece of chocolate. We're going to give you from everything because it will allow you to maintain. But not everybody has the same goals, and a deficit will be okay, and you can have a balanced diet until a certain point and until a certain goal. And when you need that goal that's a bit more elite or elevated in the sense of athletic body, deficit is not going to cut it on its own.
I agree with you 100% because that has been my journey. Meal plans never worked for me. I know I was never able to stick to them. They get boring at some point. As you said, they're like tasteless. There's no fat, no value, food value.
100%.
Yeah, I wouldn't see eggs in them. I wouldn't see
a steak, something. Not just see like, I don't know, maybe chicken. They would put chicken, but it's like the
chicken breast,
chicken breast that's like just boiled, probably chicken. I don't know. I couldn't do it anymore. There was like some dishes that I would stick to, like a good siyadi, a good thing. But those things are full composition food. It has rice, it has everything, and that was tasty. But at some point, how many siyadiyas am I going to eat before I'm just like, I can't have siyadiya anymore, you know? I would much rather, if I have to be limited with my food, to have a ribeye with some broccoli, to have some beans with a salmon, 100%. To have a white fish with like, I mean, I could eat that all day, every day. You know, you need taste, you need flavor, you need like, for you to be sustainable, you know?
100%.
A handful of people have a medical issue. We like to label, right? I'm a narcissist, I have ADHD, everything is labeled, right? Most of us don't need labels. Most of us are just totally fine. We're just either annoying people, or if you're not a narcissist, you are just selfish. That's it, you know? You don't have a problem, a hormonal problem. You just don't know how to eat properly. There are just things that we don't need to really victimize ourselves. It's just more important to learn, be open to educate yourself, be open to hear an opinion that you're not familiar with. It may make sense. Just be open. I think that could really help a lot of people if we're more open instead of having our claws out every time we hear something that doesn't make sense to us or is new, right? We know now that there's a lot of stuff that we learned that's garbage, and we have to be willing to unlearn and relearn in order for us to grow.